Now there's a major problem on a lot of lands across the country, a lot of whitetail properties. And we see it every day. And I think I talked to Dylan about what this topic is, or what it was going to be about, but I think Dylan sees this too when we go to clients. We get to see this firsthand. We get to see it over and over and over again. And that's a problem of too many deer or too many does and fawns. And not until you get mad and say, well, you know, you don't have enough in your area. I agree. There's areas that need more deer. I would even look at public land is over-hunted, over-pressured, over-doe permitted. And that's a problem. I think population estimation models are overinflated sometimes. I'd love to see public land surveys done by drone so we can get more of a concrete estimate of exactly how many deer were there. I mean, just count bodies. It'd be pretty easy to do so. We're saying there should be 15 deer here per square mile, and there's 9. You know, actually get a number instead of basing permits on 15 deer or 25 deer. That's based on the actual number. Regardless though, there are a lot of areas, and you can imagine the areas that we go to that have too many does and fawns. We're going to properties where people are spending a lot of money, putting a lot of effort into. That's a lot different than public land. You know, I think I could offend some public land hunters by saying that we work harder per deer than someone does on public land. And that's not a slight against public land hunters. We're public land hunters. I love hunting public land. We do so almost every year, and sometimes 2 states in 1 year. I like hunting public land. I love it. That's where I've hunted since 1986, public land. Long time. Over 30 bucks harvested on public land in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. And so I love hunting public land. However, when we're working on our private land, we're working sometimes hundreds of hours in a year on our land. How many of you spend hundreds of hours before the season even begins on a public land hunt? Now you can say you do that with going over maps, scouring maps, that kind of thing. We do that too on private land. I'm talking about out in the field. Regardless though, we spend a lot of time out here. Put a lot of effort, you spend a lot of money, you build giant food plots. This one's a 2-acre plot, it's got an acre extension over here on the side, 3 acres. We put a lot of time, effort, love, care into this food plot. Taking care of weeds, crop rotations, taking care of the soil, multiple rotations, blinds or stands that relate to this, switchgrass edging. We expanded this plot, switchgrass edging, hardwood regen cuttings on the inside, bedding areas that relate to this. Just a lot of work just in this one little system right here. You do that, you do it wrong, you produce a lot of does. If you plant lots of summer food, if you're out here being invasive when you hunt, then you push these mature bucks away, you invite does and fawns. A doe factory is a very real problem. It's a property that typically displays a lot of hunting pressure, a lot of great cover like we have, spend a lot of money, plant a lot of stuff. You have a lot of summer food, and you get a lot of does and fawns that keep coming back over and over again. Now, to me, the biggest problem with doe factories and having too many does in an area is the fact that you have a lot of summer food. We don't plant summer food on this property. You have alfalfa all over the place. The deer are scattered. We don't want them concentrated on our property. What happens when you have too many does and fawns? Well, when you plant summer food, it's the number one way to get a lot of does and fawns. You establish residency of doe fawning. Fawning takes place, those doe fawns return, and that population just keeps getting larger because you offer great summer food and you offer great thick cover adjacent to it where you can have good fawning habitat and fawning grounds. It's pretty easy to build that. Then if you exercise a lot of hunting pressure in the fall, those mature bucks leave and it just magnifies the problem. So then you end up with this recurring pattern of does, fawns, more does, over and over again. Those yearling bucks disperse because there's so many does in the property. They go to somewhere else. and all of a sudden you end up with a property where by your observations, it's 10, 15 does for every buck. And it's because all the bucks are living somewhere else on a non-doe factory property. I've even heard of property managers that don't believe in a doe factory situation, but then they have to shoot a whole bunch of does on their property to limit the number of does because they want more bucks in the fall. That's a doe factory. The first step in eliminating and reducing population is to actually get rid of the summer food. You get rid of the summer food, you don't attract does in traditional fawning ground, and you don't magnify that problem. That's the first step. If you have too many does, they take up space. Just use a 40-acre example. You have 10 does and fawns. That's one thing. You have great cover, 10 does and fawns. You have 3 or 4 acres of food plots. Great. You have room left over for bucks and mature bucks potentially. They don't move that far during the daylight, and we're only talking during the daylight and cover movements. Cover movement meaning bucks bed here 250 yards away, and they eat over here 250 yards from their bedding area, and there's plenty of room to go around because there's not too many does and fawns. Now let's turn that into 20 does and fawns on that 40. They're taking up more space, just a bubble. Those mature bucks, especially, and bucks in general, don't want to live those does and fawns. You keep adding numbers to that, you keep losing cover. That population keeps building of does and fawns around your food, and you have more does and fawns and fewer bucks. Now, part of the problem with that too is when you have a lot of does and fawns in the summertime, you limit the amount of food you can have in your food plots going into the fall, because those does and fawns are waiting there like an army. They don't allow your food plots to get the volume, and you actually need to plant more food for fewer bucks when you have a whole bunch of does and fawns. So you're planting more and more food to compete with the number of does and fawns you have on the property, when the simple answer is just to try to get rid of those does and fawns. Let them space out. I don't want to pack all these does and fawns into here because I plant a soybean field or a clover field or an alfalfa field right in this area, and then let those just hang around in the fall. I want them spread out all on these ag fields all around here. Let them just self-align based on dominance, social dominance, and then they'll come back during the fall. But even if they come back in a similar number to what there would have been if they were here all summer into August, September, October, November, you can still produce more volume in your food plots, for example, if you limit the number of does and fawns you have in the summertime, because it allows your crops that you plant in August, September to get more of a full volume, get a month more of growth before those does and fawns return. However, that doe factory is a real problem. I just look at basic one more time. Does and fawns need high quality summer food, and they need high stem count cover. They live in that high stem count cover. Their fawns live in that high stem count cover, and that's what they need for traditional fawning grounds. So if you give them great summer food, you give them great fall cover, winter cover, then you're going to have a lot of does and fawns. Now bucks, on the other hand, live somewhere else during the summer. They want the high overstory shade canopy of big hardwoods adjacent to summer food. Summer food could be alfalfa, could be beans. So what I'm looking to do is let those does and fawns spread anywhere on the property around here that they can. We don't plant any summer food. This year we'll have about 18 acres of food plots here. We'll have less than 2 acres in clover. And that's about 7 or 8 different clover plots that we use for small hunting plots. We just want them to be a pass-through during the fall. And we want them to hold that clover and through November, December. The deer just pass through, and that's it. We're not really holding a lot of deer. They're small. They're not big enough to hold an army of does and fawns. And so we're setting up the property so that we limit the number of does and fawns during the summertime. We're reducing that doe factory effect. Therefore, we have greater amounts of food when we get into the fall, and then that offers a welcome mat for the mature bucks in the area because we've reduced the number of does and fawns overall. We have all our plots geared towards late August, September, October, November, December, all the way through March, April. They're really kicking and peaking with all the diversities that we offer. We get full volume that limits the number of does and fawns, and for that we have the greatest number of bucks that we can have on the property. And I'm trying to explain this different ways, but that doe factory is a real problem. Going back to Dylan and I, Joe, Kevin, Wes, when we go to properties, we see this problem all the time. And it's really hard for people to keep pace. And I'll give you an example. We could have out here, if we magnified the problem, let's say we planted all this in beans out here all summer and then we converted it. we'd establish an army of does and fawns here. We'd need to shoot 15 does and fawns, 20 does and fawns. We just run out of tags, we run out of opportunity, we run out of time, and that keeps this growing number of does and fawns. So you need to shoot 12, you shoot 5, you're 7 short for what you shot. The next year, now you need to shoot 20, you shoot 7, you did a better job. Now you're 13 short. Then you have 30. It's just a growing problem, and you only can shoot so many does and fawns. So shooting and trigger control is not the number one step for reducing doe population and reducing population overall. If you need to in your area, it's get rid of the summer food, get rid of that doe factory, that summer residency of fawning, and you'll be on your way to having a more balanced herd. And when you do, then you have more bucks on the property, invite more bucks. You're not taking over that space with does and fawns. You're not adding that stress level that those mature bucks avoid. It's a really good thing. It's a really fun thing. And a lot of times it's a really quick thing to turn around. Now, if we didn't have a lot of deer here, if you don't in your area, plant a lot of summer food. That's in the UP of Michigan when I was up there. I wanted more deer. So back in the late 90s, 2000s, I'd plant fall rotations with our 365 blends. It's going back 20, 25 years. And I'd plant that clover, alfalfa, chicory base underneath. On top of, I would have brassica, oats, rye, wheat, peas, whatever it might be. That would be that cool season annual attraction. And then going into the spring, I'd have clover. I'd manage that clover all summer. Then I'd rip it up and rotate. Leave one side in clover. The other side would be that cool season annual with the clover base. I'd allow that to last for 2 years. This one I'm ripping up the next year. So every year I'm ripping up 1/2 so that each planting lasts 2 years. And you have that clover base. The whole plot was clover during the summertime, midsummer. That increased the population because I was creating a doe factory in that case. So I've used it both ways. And I hope you guys understand this is a very important concept, because some of the best properties that we see where people spend, that have the best potential, people spend the most money on, they spend the most time on, they dedicate the most equipment to and resources of everything, then what they end up with is a huge doe population. And that goes back to, it makes it even worse if we stick a redneck blind right out in the middle of the food plot and we spook every deer that comes in and out. The does and fawns will tolerate that a little bit, but those older bucks will not. So that even magnifies the problem. If we have bad access to stand locations, if we can't get on and off the property without spooking deer, that magnifies it. But the first step is to get rid of that summer food, reduce the doe factory effect. The doe factory is real. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. And it's probably the number one problem we run into on high-end properties where people dedicate the most resources into each and every season. And it's a pattern that we can easily help people with. You can imagine it's pretty easy. You need to get rid of the does and fawns, get rid of the summer food, have a more balanced approach, and it's something you can do. I don't want you to fall into that trap, because a lot of times people see that after 7, 8, 10 years of banging their head against a wall, just creating a vacuum where they shoot 20 does, they're just replaced by 20 does. They're never gaining anything, and this is why. And I think that if you take control of this situation, reduce the doe factory effect, then you'll see that, especially on some of these high-end properties like that, let alone a small property where you just don't have the room, you can really take your hunting and habitat herd management to the highest level possible. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching. We're getting our first taste of spring. It's supposed to be 51 degrees today, still middle of the winter, but we're thinking about habitat. We're thinking about food plots, planting with Pure Wildlife Blends, our seed company. We're thinking about our web classes, books. Even if you can hire us, we still have a couple spots available for this year. So check out the website. Really appreciate you watching. We have a lot to offer, and I hope it can help you out this year.